Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 60. I think we're roughly hitting that halfway mark now of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. I have a lot to say about this episode. It was fun and enjoyable, but I have a lot to say about it, and I think it'll become apparent as we go through what it is I have to say. So, let's get started. We start in Isilra with Ashton, Orm, and Laudna and their new friends Prism, Denise, and Bodor as they travel through the forest towards the village they saw last time. Orm asks Bodor if he has a cart. No, it was destroyed during the fight from last episode. Prism says that they can use a floating disc that she can make and it will follow her and everyone can ride on it. Laudna suggests putting the black hole on the floating disc and everyone can just sit inside it, making travel even easier. The issue is the disc is only 3 feet wide, so the hole is way too big for it. The disc can still hold up to 500 pounds. Unfortunately, Prism can't be on it, so the party chooses just to walk. It's a little simpler than all this other stuff that has to happen. Prism asks what the plan is when they get to town. She says that she has a project she needs help with. Orm says they want to figure out exactly where they are and if they can find their friends and where their friends are. Denise agrees. She left someone behind back where she was before being teleported. Prism says if there is a scroll in town of scrying, or a wizard with the scry spell in their book, she can steal it from them. She has no qualms about stealing shit, apparently. Orm asks if she can teleport. She can't. She says scrying will help them find the people they're looking for. Orm says that's if the spell is around somewhere. Prism agrees that's the hard part. She thinks it'll be easy to steal it with all of her magic to help her stealth around and Denise's skills. They recap where all the guests are from. Bodor is from Wildmount, and Denise and Prism are both from Teldore. Bodor can use the scry spell to look for his brother if he wants to, and Bodor just wants to know where they are exactly right now. They start moving through the forest. Laudna leads with a natural 20, the first of many this episode. Jesus Christ, they had a few of them. After a few hours of travel, Laudna finds an actual road for the party to walk on. The party see a wooden sign. One side says Endover to the west, and the other sign says Hearthdale, and a bigger one on top of it says Othenzia. Prism asks her book if it knows anything about where they are. It says they're in Isilra, which they already knew, but have all seemingly forgotten that since last episode. To be fair, it's been a week, so I'm not totally against them forgetting that. The book says the road is called the Outer Walk. The party don't like the idea that the road actually has a name. To them, it means it's probably a bad road. Orm thinks they're in the Demethor Valley, which they knew from last episode as well. It seems Hearthdale is the village they're closer to. Orm thinks they might have to go to Vasselheim at some point. Prism agrees. Laudna sends Pate ahead to scout out. Prism sends Mother as well with him. Laudna loves the idea of the two of them being together, but tells Pate not to be weird. They travel up the road towards Hearthdale. Amy rolls the travel day roll and rolls a 4, and then rolls a d6 and gets a 5. After a bit of travel, they hit a crossroads. The north path has been overtaken by growth, and there is a long, disused gallows there. Prism wants to investigate it, so they send Mother and Pate ahead to look at it. They see gravestones behind it, right on the crossroads. They are unmarked. Prism casts Identify through the gravestones, or through Mother on the gravestones. She learns that the graves are for those who were hung here for historical records. Orm keeps an eye out, and with a 29 perception check, he looks through the trees and sees the ground has been disturbed a little bit there. He chooses not to investigate. The party worry about the idea of zombies. Orm suggests a wide berth around this path right now. Laudna gets Pate to dance on one of the graves, but there's no reaction from it. Prism says Bodor might be right about zombies coming out at night. Bodor says he didn't say that or think of it, but it's probably true. The party take a wide berth around the graves. They get back on the road and continue traveling, avoiding whatever combat Matt probably had set up for them. It's starting to turn to night, and the party look up and see the solstice still overhead. The ley line nexus is above them. The party begin to taste copper as it's in the air. Lana remembers this happened in the Hellcatch Valley before the dig site. The arcane energy in the air is what causes this. It's very potent and powerful here. Prism makes a cantrip in her hand to see if it glitches out. She makes the Mother of Ravens, or the Matron of Ravens illusion, but it's extremely clear, unlike normal, where it's usually kind of, a little bit transparent. This one's extremely clear. This makes Prism believe that illusion magic is being amplified. This makes Ashton think that the town might be some sort of trap. Denise climbs a tree and looks ahead. She sees smokestacks from the houses off in the distance, and she sees a handful of homesteads there as well. She looks for people but can't make out any details, but she sees figures moving around the town. Orem sees the Nexus is almost right above the town. Orem says he thinks that magic in general is being amplified here, underneath the Nexus. Prism says it might be a trap, but she needs to fill out some of her questionnaires, and zombies should still be fine for the questionnaires. Orem doesn't think they're zombies. Lana asks Orem if he recalls what Keyleth said about other people trying to mess with the solstice during the whole event. She informs the others of the Malia's keys and what they did. Prism asks if the Nexus is the result of someone in the town messing with the solstice. Orem doesn't know. The party choose its best to approach stealthily. The group check. They roll relatively well, with the exception of Prism rolling a 4. They approach Hearthdale. They see the fences that mark the roadway, and they see buildings. They hear sawmills off in the distance, work being done there. They see people doing work in the fields and making about the town. The townsfolk take note of them as they walk in. Some farmers have a wide-eye expression on them, and they walk away as the party start to wave. Bodor says these people are like the ones that he's lived around his entire life. They are simple folk. Bodor leads the way, feeling comfortable here. There is a guard off in the distance with a spear making rounds. He sees the party and begins watching them. They also see an old man pushing a cart. Bodor calls out to the old man. The old man asks who he is. Bodor explains that they are lost and is looking for a way back to the Sirios Mountains. The old man has no idea how to get there or even where that is. The old man's name is Hendir. Bodor introduces himself and everyone else. Prism asks Hendir if he has seen anything wacky since the start of the solstice. He hasn't seen anything. The other guard or man approaches. He has a symbol of the Dawn Father on him and asks what the party is doing. They say they're passing through. He says they can go to the Stone Square Inn for lodging. And then after that, they should be on their way if they don't have any business here. The guard walks off, keeping an eye on the party. Bodor offers Hendir some jerky for free, but he's no charity case. Denise says that he can give them information for trade. He says there's been a lot of strange things happening, and to talk to Prolef or the village elder. He explains where to find them both and takes the jerky. Ashton then buys some tobacco off him, and then he begins to leave. Orem stops him once again and asks if there's an armorer or a blacksmith in town. He says no, but there's tools here. Prism asks for a library. He says they have books, but no libraries in this town. He then walks off. As they continue to walk, they see the modest logging village that they're in right now, maybe 1,000 people. They get lots of eyes as they walk around. Lana and Denise hide themselves under their cloaks. Prism looks out for more guards. She sees a few more, and they also see a stone as they get to the stone square, they see a Pride Rock looking structure. Denise and Prism wonder if most places like this have religious based guards, like the one they saw before with the Dawnfather symbol. They know that in Vasselheim is the starting place of religion, so that's probably why they have these kind of guards here. The Pride Rock place seems to be a massive temple, bigger than should be in this size of a town. Prism thinks that place will be where the scry spell is, if anywhere here has it, and suggests that they make that the last stop before leaving and doing some sort of heist to get the spell. No one is opposed to this idea. Orem gives Lana some flowers to give her some color to not creep out people. They wonder where to go first. Prism says the pub might loosen some lips, but Denise says that the suspect guard told them about the pub and that Hendar told them about the Elder and Prolef, so they're probably safer bets. The party agree that it might be better to go to them first, so they go to Prolef's shop. At Prolef's shop, there is a note that says, "Out for a moment, don't steal anything." There's a bell there as well. Bodor rings the bell. The door opens and a human opens the door and is surprised to see how many people are in front of it. He looks to be in his mid-50s. This is Prolef. He invites them inside. Denise says they are not from around here. He figured that. They introduce themselves. The shop is very cramped with shelves, very small, best fits 3 people comfortably. He's honored that people have traveled this or from far away to come specifically to his shop. The party explained that they were teleported here. This is a relief to him, as this means the missing people are likely not dead. He says 11 people have gone missing since the solstice yesterday. They saw an event take place in the square, so the people in the village had a makeshift celebration. Prism asks if the temple was on board with this. He says that's why they knew about the temple, or that's why they knew to celebrate, because the temple told them that this event would happen. It's not why the guards are here. They were here before. Prolef seems afraid of something. They ask him what has him spooked. He says there's been Vasselheim agents around, the Judicators. The party explains what the Judicators are a little bit to the others. Prolef says this town isn't your typical religious town. Laudna says they aren't either. Prolef looks at her, and with a natural 20, he's able to convince him that she's telling the truth. Again, one of many natural 20s this night. He says the town is more of a loom and leaf, or loom and the leaf, more pagan life. But the Silverfell family bought some land and then started milling some of the trees around them. And that brought the temple here. The temple hasn't been forceful about their faith, but it is ever present. Bodor points out they have a bunch of resources, but no one here seems to be happy. Prism asks if the millwork has upset the land around it. It has upset some of the spirits. The Silverfells have taken more than agreed, but the Elder deals with the spirits, so it's not really something he knows too much about. They ask about the Elder, and if they'll talk to the party. Prolef seems to get nervous about all these questions. Prism hands him a note that has illusionary magic on it to ask him for a safe place to talk. He tells them about a cottage, non-discreetly, off in the distance of the village. Ashton asks if Prolef heard the voice before people went missing. He said everyone did. The temple was made about 20 years ago, and in the last few months has been tense between the townfolk and the temple people. Prism asked about the party that they had. It was in the stone square, and it was a very competitive family friend game. The winner is among one of the people who went missing. Prism asks if there is a town wizard. Prolef says there's no one from a fancy school here. The Elder is the only person who might know what's going on above with the solstice. That's enough questions. It's now time for them to buy some shit. They buy some healing potions. Bodor buys some laxatives, but everyone asks what he has left in him to sort of use that for. He says they'll see what it's for later. Bodor has no gold, so he asks for a trade. Prolef says to take it, and that Bodor will just have to owe him a favor. Bodor likes this idea a lot. Denise doesn't trust this much, but can't really get a good read on him. They leave his shop and head toward the cottage to meet the village elder. Prism thinks the town made a sacrifice last night at the party, but Ashton does not agree. Orm thinks the crackdown from the temple is Vasselheim's response to the solstice. Prism asks what the Judicators are. Laudna explains that they are the boogeymen of Vasselheim. They explain that some scrolls were stolen from Vasselheim and the Judicators were sent to sort of keep it under wraps and get it back. Prism asks if they work for the Voice. Orm says no, they're actually against him. Laudna explains who the villains are of Campaign 3 to the guests. Prism knows who the Cerberus Assembly are, or is. Prism asks about the scroll that was stolen. Laudna explains that the Grim Verity had their goals about learning about Ruidus and stopping the Ruby Vanguard. And with the scroll that they took, they learned that Rudis wasn't a moon, but in fact a prison. Lana tells the guest of the forgotten gods and the moon being a prison for Predatos, the god eater, and how it killed the two forgotten gods. And that's why the adjudicators were sent out, because the Groom Verity took the scrolls. Prism wonders if the old gods are still in its stomach somehow. Prism says they know as much as books. Bodor wonders if the gods being killed is a bad thing, if the temple is just going to push people down like they do in this town. Orm says it's their reaction to all of this, likely not what they normally do. Laudna has a theory that all of the nexus points are where people have been going missing from, as they run a nexus point in the dig site, and now people in this town were at a nexus point and got missing, and it seems that everyone else they've encountered who went missing were also at some sort of nexus and all heard the voice. So they think that the nexus is what like threw people around, these nexus points. They eventually see a 2-story cottage off near the tree line. There's chimes and art all around the outside of the porch. This is what is known as the Knotborough Cottage. Denise and Laudna knock. Some of the roots begin to move, and they start to react to the party. The roots begin to retract into this more roots above, and the door opens up a bit, and they can see an eye. The eye asks for their business. They explain that they are teleported here. The door closes, and the roots around the doorway begin to move away, and the door opens up once more. A half-giant stands in the doorway. She has graying eyes and a big smile. She leans out the door. Orm grows a flower and gives it to her. She takes it. Laudna looks if she's giving like Nana Mori vibes off of her. She insight checks and gets a whisper. Bodor says in Giant that he loves her home. She thanks him and hopes that they find it comfortable. They all go inside the house, and the elder asks what specifically they're all doing here. Laudna explains how they all got here and where they're from. The elder seems to understand the ley lines and the magic surrounding it. Prism says the people here are uncomfortable with the temple, and that the elder's name was dropped twice to some of the people that they should talk to. Prism also thinks the temple is involved with what happened to the village. She says she's willing to help in return for the scry spell. Denise steps in and says they just want to know where their friends are. The elder says the information they have is dangerous and wishes the information was a bit more guarded. She introduces herself as Joan Abendina. She's a protector of the village of sorts, as her family has been for a very long time, and must protect it from all dangers. She asks for proof of what the party is saying, because they might be a danger. Prism gets her book to confirm what they're saying, as the book is magical and she can sense whatever magic off it she wants. It'll probably end up being truthful. She asks if they're looking to get into, she asks if they're looking to get home. Only Bodor seems to want that. She turns to Prism and asks if she really just wants the scry spell. Prism wants to help her friends find their friends, as what she was doing out here, filling out questionnaires, doesn't seem to be very likely to get done anytime soon, so she's likely going to be stuck as an apprentice forever. Aberdina says it's curious tidings right now with their arrival and the solstice that's happening and everyone going missing. Bodor asks what they can do to help. Aberdina says the village sees her as a guide and she can speak to the spirits around here. Prism asks what the spirits think of the mill. Aberdina says many forces here are working against their history, and she asks what the group's opinions are on the prime deities. Bodor says it's hard to support them with a place like this being under their boot. Orm says some do good and it's the followers who do bad, not necessarily the gods. Orm says that they were at the kickoff of the whole event and think the temple is just responding to the solstice. Denise asks what she feels about the deities. She blows some pink smoke into Orm's face, or into just Orm in general, and asks if she may, and he allows whatever is going to happen next to happen. He sees flashes of the dig site and some of the events leading up to everything that happened there. Bodor asks what she did. She says that she saw some of his experiences. And to answer Denise's questions, she says that People are born free, and those who have money and power take it. There's no higher level of control than the temples of Vasselheim. Laudna agrees, but their enemies are trying to kill the gods, and this will make a power vacuum, and some bad people will be looking to fill those slots. Aberdina agrees that when the government falls, another one will rise, but maybe things need to crumble away to rebuild. She'd rather the greatest oppressors fall for a chance to make things better. Laudna isn't sure about this. Laudna asks if she knows of Predathos. Aberdina says only what they were told. She says someone with a vision has filled the gods with fear, much like the Matron of Ravens did back when she ascended to godhood. Prism wonders if this will cause the gods to run to pull Predathos away from the people. Orm asks how Aberdina heard this stuff. She says it was the night of the solstice and she heard a voice before the flash and people went missing. Orm says they were standing 15 feet away from him and he was willing to kill anyone to achieve his goals. She thinks his path may not be the greatest, but she can't argue with his philosophy of getting rid of the gods. Orm says that's a big debate, but they're here now and they're looking to help their friends. Orm asks for some advice to get home. Aberdina says that she wants to help and needs their help with something. Orm says they can't help. Aberdina steps outside and the group follows. She points to the temple and asks them to help free their families, and she'll help them in return. Denise asks for a breakdown of what that means. Aberdina says come to a meeting place at the brewery. They'll get their answers there. Bodor desperately wants to go home, so he instantly says he'll go. Prism says she wants to learn more, so she'll go as well. Denise asks for proof that Aberdeen can help them. She points back to her house and shows them that there is a scry well inside of it. They can use it once they prove themselves useful or helpful. Prism asks if she's scryed on any of the people who've went missing. She has seen 3. One is in the ocean. The little girl who won the games the night before is currently in a swamp, but she's strong-willed, so she should survive. The person in the ocean is likely fucked. And the third is in a snowy place, probably Wildmount, which sucks for them because they probably just missed Group A. Prism Insight checks with a natural 20. That's like the third one or the fourth one tonight. She feels like she's telling the truth. Aberdina says the group should separate a bit as to not draw too much attention, and she gives them directions to the brewery. They split up into 2 teams of 3. Laudna says Pate with Orm, or sends Pate to go with Orm. Prism turns invisible for some reason. They try to act casual as they move through the village. They all roll okay. As they walk through the streets seem rather empty and quiet. Without any issue, both groups convene on the brewery. It's hard to say that word for me, apparently. They step in and Laudna immediately feels a crossbow aimed at them. They ask what they're doing here, the person holding the crossbow. Laudna says Aberdina says that they can prove themselves useful in this meeting. The crossbow is lowered, and they are allowed to walk in. Prism is eavesdropping around on people as she's invisible. She makes a perception check and gets a dirty 20, no longer natural, but still 20. She hears a few people talking. They all seem very anxious. Some get the feeling that at any moment in time they could be rounded up by the temple. Once they get to the basement, they are in a room with about 80 people. There is a risen platform behind them in the back. Not behind them. People look at them very nervously, but Prolef tells them that they are all friends. Prism thinks the town is about to pop and they might be the ones to do it. They all sit together, even the invisible Prism. They can see various groups are starting to form. They can hear the anxiety in the people. The room goes quiet as Aberdina steps up to the platform. She has a walking stick this time that they didn't see before and it has runes in it. She addresses the people and the solstice events. She says that she's been looking for the people who've gone missing and trying to bring them home. She says the events was either done by the gods themselves or done by the people who were doing their actions or working for them. She says that this can ignite change. They all heard the voice. Many others around the world have also suffered in this same way. Now is the time to take back this hill, this valley, and if they're not alone in this world, they can take back the world as well and be truly free. She asks if anyone will stand in their way or wishes to step out and step aside. She says there's no shame in this if they do, but asks for them to stay safe and stay out of the way as they set fire to the temple. Some people grab their kids and leave. The warriors stay. Bodor asks if they should leave. Prism steps up, still invisible. Ashen steps up, and then everyone else follows behind. Bodor asks if they're going to kill anyone. He's never done that before. A blacksmith in front of them says that it's in their court. The blacksmith says to everyone else that the strangers have come to fight with them. Aberdina says that she spoke with these strangers, being the party, and says that they'll fight with them and to lend their strength to them. Denise asks for the plan yet again. Aberdina says there's two paths they can go down. They can approach unseen and give them the option to leave on their own accord. Should they refuse and raise their weapons, then they will take the temple by force. Bodor asks how many there are. Prolef says there are about 6 armored bastions. 3 of them are currently elsewhere. And there's also the head of the temple, Kiro, the flame guide. And Orm asks for how many adjudicators there are in the town. There's 2 throughout this town. One is on guard, and the other is in the temple, seemingly. A flame guide is an elevated priest of the Dawnfather. They are proven in both a political space and a military space, making them perfect missionaries. Bodor asks if they just want the people in the temple to leave. Aberdina says leave and never come back. Prism doesn't think that the talking way is going to work. There's about 60 people in this room ready to fight still, so about 20 people left. There are 10 that look like they can actually fight. There are 30 that look like strong farmers who might be decent, and the rest are rough and ready teenagers and locals looking to prove themselves. Lautna asks about those who have gone with the temple. Some people from the village have joined the temple and their religion and are seemingly gone. And some pretend to join the village or to join the temple so they can have a person inside. So there is no one in that needs to be sort of jailbroken out. When are they doing this? Tonight. Bodor has a plan to distract the guards with tobacco and beer. Maybe convince them to leave. Ashen doesn't think that'll work. Lana wants to spare the weaker people in the temple before the fighting truly starts, because it's just a waste of time for them, really. Prism asks where the adjudicators are, and where Kiro is. One of the adjudicators is outside on guard duty making the rounds, and the other is inside the temple. The party think that most people will likely die, as they're not trained, and the adjudicators are incredibly strong from what they heard last time. Orm thinks they should try to talk to Kiro and the adjudicators and tell them that they have information about lewdness to try to see if they can leave this all peacefully. Prism asks if they have any proof of this. Lana says they have the Vanguard outfit still, but Orm doesn't think they'll need proof, just to dangle the information in front of them. Ashton says they have the names of 2 dead gods that might prove useful. Bodor really wants to talk to the guards. Orm wants to tell them they have information to draw out the higher-ups. Lana says Bodor and Orm should try talking, and the rest will hide and wait for shit to hit the fan. Bodor says he needs beer. Aberdina says the people here, the new ones, have better strategies than the people who live in the town, which is very true. Denise likes the plan of talking while the others wait. Prism says that she has a spell that can, do some unstable distractions if they need it. The plan is to tell the temple that the real fight is in Marquette and they should go there, and if they don't bite, Prism is going to summon a demon inside the temple. Yeah, that's going to go well. They look over the people. They seem very fearful, which makes the party think that they want a peaceful end to all of this conflict. The plan is now a go. The 60 warriors divide and sneak around the temple, hiding in the trees surrounding it. The party make their way to the front. Orm and Bodor take a cart with beer and go to the front. The rest hide near the temple. There's 4 guards out front. As they see Orm and Bodor, they get their crossbows ready. One moves into the temple, and the other asks what their business is. There's two up top, one down below now. Bodor says they have gifts, and Bodor makes a deception check, 23. Again, they roll nothing less than 20, except for one bad stealth roll today. Crazy dice rolls. The guards say it's strange to converse, but they'll take their offerings. Bodor hands one of them a joint of tobacco. The guard can tell that they're not from here. Bodor says Orm has seen things that they wouldn't believe. The guard whistles, and the other guard that went inside before comes back out and starts taking the barrels of beer. Bodor asks if they can all have a drink before he takes it inside. The guard is okay with this. Bodor pours some drinks and puts the laxatives in the guard's drinks. Bodor is playing 4D chess knowing this shit's gonna happen, I swear to God. He hands them out to the four guards. Orm and Bodor's drinks don't have any laxatives in them. They make a toast to the Dawnfather and they all drink. Over the next few minutes they finish off their drinks. Orm tells the guards of the second gift, and he says he came from across the ocean at the heart of the threat that their order faces and fears. He wants to communicate what it is he's seen and wants to help, and says he must tell whoever is in charge here. A persuasion check of 22. 20 is their number today. The happy energy ends from the guards and a serious one overcomes them. He says he can go get the flame guide. As Orm waits, he sees two things with his passive perception. The mist in the area, it seemingly is moving as if it's conscious, and the trees around the temple seem to grow. He also sees the shadows of large groups of people hiding near the temple, as they're not very good at hiding. Orm says he's glad that they could talk this out. Meanwhile, Ashton casts Pass Without a Trace, helping the others around him, or around them, stay stealthy. Prism turns Mother invisible, and tells it to go into the temple. She rolls stealth for Mother with 2 fucking natural 20s with advantage. 2 natural 20s. That is insane. And I think it's only happened like 2 or 3 times before on Critical Role. Keep in mind they've been playing for friggin' 8 years now. So that's insane. How many 20s they got in this episode alone, and how many rolls they got over 20. Granted, they're level 9, but that's insane. They've been rolling super well tonight. Mother sees more guards inside, more than Prolif counted, so their information is already wrong. Mother moves in an opening near the guards into hatch into the temple, and Mother perfectly dives in. Mother reaches an open central chamber with statues of the Dawnfather, and there's an altar in front of a stained glass window with the Dawnfather in battle over the Lords of Hell, or over the Lord of Hells. Mother sees 2 more guards, making the total currently 8, and Mother also sees a Judicator standing near the stained glass. Prism's plan will no longer work, as she doesn't have blood to summon a demon, almost the exact same problem that Ford ran into in Campaign 2. They need to start killing just innocent people and having blood, man, I swear. Bodor tries to convince the guard one of the towers up top to take a cigarette. He says his boss will be here soon. And as they're talking, one of the other hatches opens up near them, and a figure joins the 2 guards up top. It's a woman in her mid-30s with dark hair. This is the Flame Guide Kiro. She asks Orm to tell her what they have to say within the next minute, or they'll be banished from this town. Orm tells her that he crossed the ocean from a place where all the problems are coming from. He tells her about the leader of the Cerberus Assembly and their goal of killing the gods. He says they should be going to the Hellcatch Valley to stop lewdness. Their time is better spent there than here, and putting their boots on the neck of these people. Persuasion check. Laudna aids with turning the moon into a glowing red, or a glowing head of the Dawnfather, so he has advantage on the roll. And then Bodor casts Enhance ability on Orm by mistake, because he has no control over his powers. If he could have triple advantage, that would be really cool, but he doesn't have elven accuracy now, does he? And both of his rolls are 10, so 15. Hero questions how Orm has gotten close to lewdness, as they couldn't get their ships close, and why he's here now. Orm says he didn't come here. He was thrown here because of the ley lines. Kiro says that they'll take him to Vasselheim so he can tell the people there. The guards start to move in on Orm and Bodor. Orm says that's unfortunate, which is the signal to let the others know it's go time. Orm creates a vine with Seedling and throws one of the guards in front of him into the wall, trying to knock him out. He deals 16 damage to this guard. Unfortunately, he's not unconscious. Kiro starts yelling to lock the place up. Prism manifests Mind right in front of her and sends herself and Denise into the temple using Dimension Door. Ashen rushes to catch up with Orm. Laudna moves in but stays a little bit back because she's a spell sniper. Bodor tries to convince one of the guards to join them. However, the guard pushes Bodor off and Bodor shoots him in the back. Bodor tries to throw a dagger at him but misses. Prism casts False Life on herself. The villagers start to charge into battle as well. And Matt brings out what I can only describe as my favorite battle map ever, with the aside of like final boss battle maps. But this is like one of like the best like, you know, non-battle or non-like mega boss fight map. It looks sick. And with the biggest tease of all time, Matt ends the episode here, upsetting Amy Carrero so badly. Like, just go watch that moment. It's perfect. Amy Carrero is ready to go, and then Matt ends the episode, and she is devastated. It's perfect. But that's where the episode ends. And there you have it. That is episode 60. A very fun episode. Very enjoyable for the most part. There is one major problem I have throughout this episode, and I've mentioned it in the past before. And I'm conflicted because it makes sense, but I'm also annoyed by it. And that is the constant sort of repeating of what the story of the campaign is so far. It happened a few times in this episode, and I was complaining about it ages ago, like back in episode like 40 and below, because they would constantly repeat it over and over again. And I think that's sort of showing the problem of one massive sort of story going on, where it's been the whole campaign instead of breaking it up into different like true arcs with different villains, and it's been one villain this whole time. I think that's really starting to show that it gets, a lot of things get lost in the sauce somewhere, and that they need to start repeating a lot of things a lot. Now, I do have an issue with this because I know the villains, what they've done and all that. However, there are 3 guests sitting here that don't. So, on one hand, I'm annoyed by it because they spend a lot of time talking about it again and again and again. But on the other hand, we have new players. So, it kind of gets a pass for me. But at the same time, if it happens anymore, and I feel like it's going to, I know it's going to annoy me, personally, because I'm well caught up. Obviously, it's kind of, I enjoy being caught up. So, for me, I don't know. I'm sort of here or there. I'm not too sure how I feel about the repeating. But that is the only issue I have with this episode. Otherwise, it's fun. I'm really enjoying this creepy little mountain town. Really enjoying some of the characters here. I like the theory building that they're sort of like connecting the dots between the nexus points and the ley lines. And that's where people have been spewed out from. Because they're super close to a lot of these nexus points when they're landing. So I'm kind of excited to learn more about that stuff. Super excited about what this next fight is going to be because it's massive. This fight might take up like a good portion of like next episode. So I'm very excited to see how long this fight's going to be. They're going to have to fight a flame guide and I think 2 Judicators, which might be sick. So I'm very excited for that. I can't wait to see the Judicator minis. I don't think Matt put it there on the map. So I'm very excited to see whatever the fuck that looks like. But yeah, I'm excited. Very excited for what's coming next. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make. And yeah, see you guys then. So be sure to subscribe, comment, like the video if you've made it this far. Yeah, I'm terrible at outros. I think I've made that clear before in the past. Peace out.